Here she is, Tiffany Teo.
Hi,
Tiffany, how
Johnny.
you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, it's at the hotel now, the quarantine week. Yeah.
We got to ask you, what inspired your haircut for this bout?
Kind of always wanted to do it, so I did it after circuit breaker in Singapore. Yeah, it's just like kind of a tick off my bucket list actually. Nothing like really significant. Yeah.
You look good. You look like a warrior.
Thanks. Yeah, I like the new cut too. It's really convenient. Training, showering, everything's just easier. Yeah.
We got a couple questions from the media from across the globe.
Okay.
I'm going to jump straight into it, okay?
Okay, yeah.
This one is from Overtime Heroics Mixed Martial Arts. In your first match with Xiong, she overwhelmed you and wore you down in the later rounds. Do you expect her approach to be the same in this one?
I would think so. Yeah. So I've watched a few of her past few fights. That's what she does to most of her past opponents. Later in the rounds, they get overwhelmed by the punches, and I would think that coming to this fight will be a similar game plan for her. Yeah.
Another question here from Leon Jennings of Asian Persuasion MMA. What did you learn from Xiong's last two bouts with Angela Lee? And what do you think you need to do better or differently to get your hands raised?
Yeah, so from her past two fights with Angela, so let's talk about the first fight first, where it was at the strawweight, right? Yeah, so I think you were in the corner too. Yeah, so she did a really great job. She won that fight. Yeah, and she's a really tough girl, man. I thought the armbar was pretty tight, and she didn't tap to it and weathered through the storm, and came up with the win in the fourth round or fifth round, I think. Yeah, so I think she'll be. Yeah, she has good cardio for sure. I foresee this bout going into the championship rounds. Yeah, so I have to. Yeah, I'm ready. Cardio is good. Yeah, they all have to prep for this. Yeah.
What did you see in the second bout?
The second bout, I don't feel like it was a good reflection of how she would usually fight, because I feel like she dropped down, to a lower weight, and I felt like she was significantly weaker in strength. I would say it was her first time at atomweight. Yeah, so I didn't really pay much attention to that fight at atomweight. Yeah.
Next question here, again from Leon Jennings. What improvements or changes are you expecting to see from Jing Nan as a result of her move into Evolve MMA?
I would think that Evolve will work on her all different aspects of her game. I mean, it's a training ground with all the different disciplines in martial arts. They have Muay Thai, they have boxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. Yeah, so I think they will work on the different disciplines of the game and give her a good game plan leading up to this fight. Yeah.
You've been building a lot of momentum into this one, two incredibly tough wins leading up to this one, but there's an atomweight Grand Prix coming up. Do you see yourself jumping into that mix?
I'm not too sure about making atomweight, man. It's quite a big cut for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I might. I mean, if there's the option to, I would have to do a trial cut and see how I feel at that weight first. Because I've never fought at that weight. I'm not sure how I would feel at that weight either. Yeah.
Yeah. Big things ahead on you Friday night. Next question from Conan. Regardless of the results, let's scratch that. I just asked you that question.
Okay.
Next question. You lost to Jing Nan in 2018.
Yeah.
What would you do differently this time around?
Yeah. So that's a question. That's a question that many people have been asking. What's the difference, right? The first time I met versus this time. So yeah. So after that loss, I realized that there were a lot of loopholes in my game. That was like 2-3 years ago, and after that loss, I had to reevaluate my whole game. And over the past 2 to 3 years, I had the time to address all these weaknesses in my game. And coming up on this coming Friday, I hope that everyone sees a different version of me. Yeah.
That was one of the big things Jing Nan talked about as well. She said the biggest thing that she saw from you as an athlete over this course of this last 2 years was that your mental game was a lot stronger.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Question from Fight Game Asia. I just asked that as well. I'm going to scratch that again. Sorry.
That's okay.
You've improved a lot, obviously, in the last 2 years. What new aspects of your game do you think you're going to trouble Jing Nan with?
Yeah, so for my past two fights, I've been fighting like two grappling specialists, right? So I feel like what she doesn't know is how I would fare against like a striker. I mean, she's predominantly a striker, so and she has no reference, after my loss to her, I've never fought any striker, so I feel like that's kind of a wild card for her. Yeah, so yeah, she'll find out when it happens this Friday. Yeah.
In that first bout, it looked like you were kind of overwhelmed when you got into the pocket. And the last two bouts, like you mentioned, you were against more grappling heavy based opponents. You're working on your outside. You looked really good on the outside with your jab and your low kick. Is that a similar strategy you're going to look to implement?
That's part of the strategy, and also a mix of other offenses too, not just like staying long at range. Yeah, just mixing things up better. Yeah.
And in the grappling exchanges, it seemed like in the Angela Lee fights, Angela was able to overpower her in the body lock. Similar game plan, maybe a blueprint for you?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll find out.
Can't give too much away, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel heading into this bout? You feel like you're at your best, and mentally, how do you feel for this bout compared to the one in 2018?
Yeah, definitely more mentally and physically prepared. It's not just the mental part. So after my last fight against Ayaka Miura, I kind of we all knew that this fight was gonna happen. It's just a question of when, right? And when this whole pandemic happened, I thought I wouldn't be fighting until like in 2021. So I'm really glad that One Championship managed to push this through and make this event happen. And ever since that my last win, I've been getting ready for this fight, even though the date wasn't confirmed. Like all my training was revolving around this upcoming fight. It was really specific training. So yeah, I'm very ready. And also I started working with kind of like a sports psychologist since April. So it's been helping me a lot with my mental game. Yeah, and I feel really ready.
Singaporean girl competing in Singapore for a world title. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's like finally, a world title shot in Singapore. Because the last time I thought it was in Jakarta, I don't think that. I mean, it's a smaller audience, but I believe that the energy will still be a lot different with a local crowd supporting me. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that, but there's going to be 250 people in the crowd.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I think a majority of them will probably be cheering for you.
I hope so. Yeah, so yeah, it should be fun. A different energy because it's not really a big audience because I fought in a closed door event before the last time, the only closed door event in Singapore, and this time around 250. So I foresee a little bit of difference in like the energy. Yeah.
Question here from Nick of South China Morning Post. Was your haircut inspired by Brian Ortega at all before his fight with Korean Zombie?
No, not really. So I've already shaved it off a couple months ago, but it got a bit too long and it got quarantined. So I just got my corner man to, get a shaver and just get the hair off. Yeah.
You work with a team that's relatively small. Talk about how much that's helped you.
Yeah, so I work with Team Highlight Reel. So now it's still the same team but different name. We rebranded it as Singapore Top Team. So I work with overall. He's the mastermind behind all the game plan, and Xiong. So he's my main training partner because we both fight at flyweight. It's a really good size for me, and he helps me a lot with the striking aspect too. And Dominic, he's more of the wrestling guy. So he was part of the national wrestling team, but he stopped competing. Yeah, so these are the three main guys. And also I have a strength coach, Han Performance. You can check him out on Instagram. Yeah, so there's the good thing about working in a small group is like there's a lot of communication going on in between, So it's like we're always on the same page. We're always in sync in that sense. And they are updated about my training schedule. So let's say if I go for the striking session and strength session and I have a wrestling session, I mean, Dom would know not to like push me, 100%. Obviously, I'm tired after 2 hard sessions, right? So in that sense, there's a lot of communication going on, and we're all on the same page on game plan. So we kind of like complement each other. Yeah. So I really like this arrangement. Yeah.
I love that you always plug your boys, always mentioning them, the up and coming guys. That's so cool. Question here is fighting for the pride of your country something that drives you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there has more like homegrown Singapore MMA talent and champion. And yeah, I hope that I can change that and be the first one to achieve that. And I hope that, by doing that, it will encourage, more females and more people just, coming into this sports, give it a try and maybe pursue it as a career. Yeah.
You're doing a great job. You're such a role model to all the girls out there. Last question here for you. You are definitely one of the pioneers of women's MMA in Singapore. What do you have to say to the local aspiring women athletes who want to start their career in MMA? And how do they overcome these challenges getting to where you are, for example?
Yeah, so when I first started doing MMA, like when I decided to pursue it professionally, I was very lost because prior to me, there were no other, professional MMA. There were a few, but they kind of just dropped off and they didn't really pursue it. So I didn't know like what to expect. There wasn't anyone in Singapore for me to talk to. There wasn't oh, I do this, I fight for this organization, and I go there. It's like it was kind of like a wild card being thrown at me. I just had to take it one step at a time and figure it out as I go. So yeah, I guess in that sense, for the upcoming, potential fighters, especially female fighters, they can kind of someone to talk to if they are keen on pursuing this. And I would say one of the most important takeaway I had from my whole journey is to never lose sight of the angle. I feel like that is my anchor, and that was what kept me going when the going gets really tough. I mean, it's not an easy journey, man. It's like there'll be people dissuading, especially in Singapore. I feel it's not mainstream, It's like it's just the typical Singapore mentality, like it's out of the norm. Yeah, like get a job, get married, get HEB, blah blah blah. It's like what I'm doing is like the exact opposite. Yeah, so there will be a lot of people, trying to dissuade you, asking you to do something else, like be normal. Yeah, that's very common. But yeah, if you really want it, you got to remind yourself what you're doing this for and never lose sight of the angle.
Yeah, you really are a pioneer, championing that middle class. Not a lot of people out there in Southeast Asia, especially doing what you're doing, and you're doing a great job. I just want to tell you. Last question here before you go. If you beat Jing Nan, you said you're going to be a different champion. How so?
Yeah, so like I was saying that, yeah, so that whole topic came about when I was talking to, I think, SCM, South China Morning Post. Yeah, so they were asking about, how does it feel like to be fighting for the title the second time, right? Yeah, so I told them that the first time when I fought for the title, I felt like the title meant a lot more to me, because I felt like we both earned the title shot. Like Jing Nan, she came in, she had a big win in one championship, and then I built my record and I worked my way to the championship, and it was the first time there was this strawweight title when we first fought. So after that, yeah, I felt like the two girls who were the contenders for the title, it's like they kind of didn't earn their shot. Like nobody heard about them. Not to say they are not good fighters or anything, but it's just that I felt like there were other girls in the division. Like back then, there was Michelle Nicolini. She had a few wins in the division. I mean, I understand that the strawweight is kind of a weird division in the sense that it's a very small division. It's hard to have it's so different from the atomweight, right? The atomweight has like a huge pool of fighters, but the strawweight is just like way smaller. So I guess it's kind of weird in that sense too. So I hope that when I become the champ, I want to change this. I feel like the title shot should be you should earn that shot, work your way up the ranks, and not just just come into the division, 0 wins in the division, and right straight to the title shot. Yeah.
Tiffany, we know you got another press conference ahead too. We've got one more question for you.
Okay.
From Overtime MMA Heroics.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have strong emotions coming into this fight, especially because Xiong was the one who took away your undefeated record?
Not really. It's like I've already let go of what already happened. Now my mind is just focused on what's coming next. So I mean, it's already happened, right? Nothing I do can actually change the past. So I've decided to, let it go. Now it's time to focus on what's ahead, and that's the only thing that's on my mind now.
I'm really excited to watch this one Friday night. Thank you so much for your time, Tiffany.
Thanks, Johnny. All right, see you around.